Have you ever noticed something strange? Some of the most intelligent people you know struggle to take action. They read more, they analyze more, they understand things faster than others. They see patterns others miss. They ask deeper questions. They notice details most people overlook. Yet somehow, they stay stuck. Meanwhile, people who think less seem to move forward faster. They start projects sooner. They make decisions more easily. They try things without over-analyzing every possible outcome. And surprisingly, they often make more progress. So what's going on? Why does intelligence sometimes become a barrier to action? Why would the very ability that helps us understand the world sometimes hold us back from participating in it? Imagine two people starting a project. The first person thinks for a moment and says, "Good enough, let's try it." They don't know exactly how things will go. They don't have every detail figured out, but they decide to begin anyway. The second person begins analyzing. What if it fails? What if there's a better strategy? What if the timing isn't right? What if someone else has already done this better? What if I'm missing something important? So they research, they plan, they optimize, they compare different approaches, they gather information, they read articles, they watch videos, they try to design the perfect strategy before making the first move. Days pass, weeks pass, and the project never starts. Ironically, the smarter the person is, the more likely this pattern becomes. Not because intelligence is a weakness, but because intelligent minds work differently. Highly intelligent minds tend to simulate many possible futures. Your brain doesn't just see one path, it sees 10, 20, maybe 100 possibilities. When you consider taking action, your mind automatically begins exploring all the ways things might unfold. And while that sounds like a strength, it creates a hidden problem. Every possible action also creates possible failure. Your mind begins running mental simulations. What could go wrong? How people might react? How things could collapse? How small mistakes could turn into bigger consequences? How the plan might fail halfway through, and suddenly action feels dangerous, not because anything bad has happened yet, but because your brain has imagined so many ways it could. Your brain is designed to protect you from threats. For most of human history, this ability was essential. Our ancestors survived because their brains were constantly scanning the environment, looking for risks, predicting danger, preparing for uncertainty. The ability to anticipate problems kept people alive. But in modern life, this system sometimes works a little too well, especially in highly analytical minds. Intelligent people often have a powerful cognitive tool, advanced pattern recognition. You can detect patterns quickly. You notice connections between ideas. You see relationships between cause and effect. You recognize warning signs others might miss. This can be incredibly valuable. But this ability comes with a cost. You start detecting problems that don't even exist yet. Your mind becomes very good at imagining risks that may never happen. Your brain begins treating possibilities as if they were probabilities. Just because something could happen, your brain starts feeling like it will happen. So instead of moving forward, the mind becomes cautious. It slows down, it analyzes further, it tries to gather more certainty. And instead of acting, you stay in analysis. Over time, this creates something psychologists sometimes call the intelligence trap. The smarter the mind becomes, the better it becomes at justifying inaction. You convince yourself you're still preparing, still learning, still researching, still optimizing. And on the surface, it all sounds productive. After all, preparation is important. Learning is valuable. Improving a plan can make a big difference, but there is a point where preparation quietly turns into something else. Preparation becomes procrastination in disguise, not the obvious kind of procrastination, not scrolling endlessly or avoiding work entirely, but a more subtle version. A version where thinking replaces doing, where planning replaces starting, where analysis replaces experience. Here's the strange paradox. Less analytical people often succeed faster, not because they're smarter, but because they act before certainty appears. They move. They fail. They adjust. They try something. If it doesn't work, they learn from it. Then they try again. Their advantage isn't intelligence, it's momentum. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates learning. Learning improves the next action. This cycle keeps moving forward. Meanwhile, someone stuck in analysis may still be searching for the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, the perfect moment to begin. But the perfect moment rarely arrives. Because clarity often doesn't appear before action, it appears after action. Once you start moving, the situation becomes clearer. You discover which ideas actually work. You see which problems truly matter. You learn what needs to change. But without action, all of this information remains hidden. Your mind can imagine many possibilities, but imagination is not the same as experience. And experience is what produces real understanding. The truth is this: intelligence works best after action, not before it. Action generates feedback. Feedback generates understanding. Understanding refines intelligence. But when intelligence tries to replace action, progress freezes. Instead of using intelligence to improve what you're doing, the mind becomes trapped trying to predict everything before anything happens. So what can intelligent people do differently? The key is not to stop thinking. Your intelligence is not the problem. In fact, it can become one of your greatest advantages. But intelligence needs something to work with. It needs real experiences, real results, real feedback from the world. Instead of asking, "Is this the best possible decision?" ask a different question. Is this good enough to test? This small shift changes the entire mindset. You are no longer trying to design the perfect outcome. You are simply running an experiment. Experiments are not expected to be perfect. Their purpose is to produce information, and information is exactly what intelligent minds use best. Treat life like a series of experiments. Try something. Observe what happens. Adjust. Then try again. Each action generates new knowledge. Each step reduces uncertainty, and slowly the mind becomes less trapped in endless possibilities, because reality begins replacing imagination. The goal isn't to stop thinking. Thinking is a powerful tool. Your intelligence allows you to reflect, to learn, to understand the world more deeply. But tools only matter when they're used. A brilliant strategy that never leaves your mind has no impact. A perfect plan that never begins changes nothing. Sometimes the most valuable insight comes not from thinking more, but from acting sooner, taking the first step. Even if it's small, even if the outcome is uncertain, even if the plan isn't perfect yet. Because once movement begins, something interesting happens. The mind becomes quieter, not because the thoughts disappear completely, but because the brain receives new information. Reality starts answering questions that imagination could only speculate about. And slowly, the path becomes clearer. In many ways, life is not something that can be solved entirely in your head. It's something that reveals itself through experience. And sometimes, the smartest move is simply to begin. If this idea made you see your mind differently and you enjoy exploring the psychology behind everyday struggles, subscribe for more videos that simplify how the brain works.